University of Otago Professor of Peace and Conflict Studies Kevin Clements has every reason to be happy now that the Lottery Environment and Heritage Fund has granted over $300,000 towards a memorial sculpture and garden at the intersection of George and Albany Streets. He says it'll be New Zealand's first memorial erected for conscientious objectors such as Archibald Baxter, who was born at Dunedin's Saddle Hill in 1881.
There are plenty of war memorials up and down the country, and there's no memorial whatsoever to honour those who chose a different path. And it took a lot of courage in the First World War in particular, and even in the Second World War, to conscientiously object to national conscription.
It's been a long 7 years to get this far, with the suggestion of having the memorial erected at Dunedin's Queen's Gardens opposed by the local RSA. The Archibald Baxter Memorial Trust has now been allocated this little space on City Council land to put their sculpture.
The Baxter Trust was set up about 7 years ago, and its aim is to develop this memorial garden, peace garden, to Archibald Baxter and all the conscientious objectors in New Zealand and throughout the world who've taken a very different approach to war than those who chose to take up arms. And it also funds an annual peace lecture and a peace education program in schools.
Baxter was in his mid-30s when he and 13 other conscientious objectors were shipped off to the World War I battlegrounds and subjected to various punishments, including Field Punishment No. 1, colloquially known as the crucifixion.
He was strung up on a pole in the middle of winter in France, within earshot of the front lines, and kept there for hours and hours on end. You were normally supposed, under Field Punishment No. 1, you were normally only supposed to take up to 8 hours a day, and he was there for up to 15. And it could have killed him.
The total cost of the sculpture is to be around $500,000, and this has now been raised thanks to various donations and the recent lottery grant.
There'll be a sculpture at one end which will be a representation of what's called Field Punishment No. 1, and it will be made out of Central Otago granite, and it will show the sort of shape of a man tied to a pole, and that will represent Baxter and all those who conscientiously objected to war in the First World War.
It's hoped work will begin on the memorial early next year and be completed by next December. In Dunedin, the South Today.